joining us now, but
Oh,
we're
yeah,
live.
great. Okay.
Stop talking. Stop talking bad about Sean. It's not here.
Yeah, there I was. It's like right in the middle talking all that smack about
Yeah,
him.
last time we didn't do the show because we're gonna talk why we didn't do the show. But the one before we Keenan, we told Sean there was no show, so he didn't show up. And now I don't know. Did you tell him that we were not recording?
I think I let it slip. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think yeah.
Oh no. You know what? Damn it, he's here.
Ah,
Oh,
he's here. He found us.
it's
I found the secret link.
despite that we change location
The magic
Right.
link. Yeah.
constantly, he found us. Cloud Cutter, what's up?
Cloud cutter. It's yeah, it's good.
Good.
I almost missed 2 weeks in a row. I don't know how that's possible.
What we were
Well, we all
explaining,
missed last week, and then
we
I
all
missed
missed
one.
last
Yeah, it would have
week.
been 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We haven't said why, but of course people can imagine. But we're gonna touch on that quickly. And we were telling people that we avoided you because we told you we were not recording the time with Keenan, and now you find us. So welcome back.
Woo. Good to be back.
It is good to be back.
There's lots to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
I think we do
I'm
want to.
jumping in here on the fly last minute as well. So
Well, we
I
literally just started. We were chatting about a few things, and of course, everybody's conversation these days is what's going on in the world. It could be a lot better, and that's actually why last Thursday we just didn't feel to go on. I mean, I know that the show must go on, but sometimes, it's our choice, and last Thursday we just didn't feel like it. But today we certainly want to touch on that topic, although this is not a political or a
Right.
newscast or anything like that. So maybe we'll touch on a little bit of the technology, and of course, to share our feelings with what is going on, and the hope that at least for that is going to end soon. It's already went
Yeah.
way too far. So that's as much as I'm gonna say, and of course, you guys feel free to to make your point.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. It's really hard for not to be taken aback and have a hard time focusing, knowing how much suffering is going on and needless suffering. Um, and it's very, it's difficult. So I appreciate that we weren't on last, and I know everybody's hearts going out and hoping that there can be as few deaths as possible, and that there can be as limited, and that this doesn't get escalated. I just hope that it can get resolved. I'm not. I don't know if it's going to get resolved. Peacefully, and I understand that there are a lot of people explaining why that it's more likely to escalate, and I appreciate that, but it's still in my heart of hearts. I'm hoping that we
Yeah, I just saw the
can.
news coming in that there is some corridor opening right now. They agree for letting civilian go out, and that's a bilateral decision. So that's good, but it also means that they're not going to stop. So the military is going to keep going, and with that, a lot of people. And
Yeah,
what is crazy is for me is I am sad, I'm mad, and I'm in disbelief because with the world moving towards a global cooperation, with 2 years coming from where we came, where all the
yeah,
world collaborated. I mean, at least most of it to just go back hundred of years in the way things that used to be done. It's just not right. So that's it. Sean, if you want to jump on that, there's also some cybersecurity things that are related to this. That if I know Diana, you're knowledgeable about that. If you want to jump on that, feel free to do that, or we can move on with our tech
yeah.
conversation, and the show must go on.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, there's I know that there's been a lot of talk about, oh, the cyber war and cyber warfare. The next wars are going to be all cyber, which no, clearly, and this is not just the only incident in the last 5 years. There's clearly the ground wars. There's still clearly physical, but it's a dimension. And if you look at NATO, looks at the dimensions of where war can take place. and actions that can damage citizens. It's, you know, it's air, it's land, it's space, and they had years ago they included cyberspace, and so we have seen some activity in this war with wiper malware. If you remember, 5 years ago there was wiper malware launched at Ukraine called NotPetya, and it was originally seen as some kind of ransomware, but it was actually wiper malware. So it just wiped out systems and sometimes masqueraded as ransomware. But Foxblade was discovered last
Right.
week, and again, it was wiper malware, which luckily was seen very early. Microsoft sounded the alarm, immediately started to work in collaboration with the U.S. government and to alert the Ukrainian officials about what was going on, so that it appears that they haven't been very successful in the cyberspace dimension, which is nice, good, but a good reminder that we have added another dimension that we have to protect and defend against, that we also depend on too, because there's also communication, right? There's discussion about, do we, there have been some calls for just cut Russia off of the internet, or is Russia going to try and cut Ukraine out of the internet? So it's interesting too that just, standard communication. And then I thought it was sort of interesting looking at I forget which news, maybe it was PBS NewsHour, had a Russian citizen who was saying they were just really upset that they couldn't use Apple Pay anymore because, and I thought about, it's interesting. We can really impact the lives of citizens in ways
Yeah, and that,
like that.
well, there is a lot of aspect here, and I'm sure we could do the entire episode on this. But one thing that I want to point out, it's how everybody came together, not only government but companies. You mentioned Microsoft. There was that that episode of Elon Musk pointing the Starlink system to Ukraine so they could do internet communication through the satellite. So it's unbelievable how there is a lot of humanity coming out from this, and how believe this is. But I agree with you, and I want to mention an observation made by my friend Professor Luigi Martino from the University of Florence, that he wrote an article about this thing where the news are talking about cyber war, and he's like, look, cyber war is, as you say, is an instance of the war. It's part of the war. There is different way that you can conduct it, but war is war. And the way they present it, it seems like it's a separate thing. But when these happen, as you say, everybody gets gets to pay the consequences of it. It's like, you can say, don't use this malware for hospitals, and then what happened? It goes to hospital anyway, because everybody's going to get affected. We should just not have it. End of the story. That's
it. Yeah. I mean, and that's what happened with NotPetya. I mean, the target was Ukraine, but it spread around the world and did impact many companies and organizations and systems.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think it's
scary.
It's the actors and the intent, right, that shifted from cybercrime to cyber war in my mind. And I think maybe in the middle there's terrorism, cyber terrorism, where maybe it's not a nation state conducting war and it's not cyber crime, but it's something else. And I don't know, I'm kind of flying a little bit here. I think for me it all sucks, and I think I mean, the word that consistently comes to mind for me is disgust. And I mean, I saw, I mean, you see it all over the world, people standing with Ukraine and really paying attention to the humanitarian efforts here. And we have friends on social media who don't live there but were working there and found a way out. Now their whole purpose in this moment is to help others find a safe path out. And we have friends on social media that are on the other side of the border that are taking people in. And I mean, so the fact that people are coming together is phenomenal. The fact they have to is disgusting. That's my view on it. And from the from the cyber perspective, I don't know. I've been talking to a few folks as well, and perhaps I don't know. We're kind of toying with the idea of maybe having a conversation on this, but they're they're seeing some signals that suggest there are things happening, but no real actions yet. Um, Almost like a reconnaissance, if you will,
Mm.
in that they already have the information. They're just kind of validating things, perhaps, uh, to ensure that their strategy is going to work. Who knows? I don't know. Obviously, who's involved, what people are doing, but I think there's the human impact there in Ukraine. There's the business
Mm.
impact there in Ukraine. Perhaps there's the military impact there in Ukraine with all of this. And then there's the wider impact beyond that, where, as you mentioned, Diana, things get loose. The target is a target, and maybe one parameter is missed or misinterpreted, and others get hammered by it. And then there's just the the act of war itself, where that's a critical infrastructure is going to be taken offline. Banks are being taken offline. I don't know what's going to happen, of course, but any of this could happen, and it could be as simple as Apple Pay, right? A disruption like that, or
Yeah.
Google Pay, not to pick a brand, but a disruption like that could impact a lot. Or I don't know if a lot of people rely on delivery services still, and that can impact, or certainly supply chain, right? So it doesn't have to be the power grid goes down. It could be
Right.
something else that just dramatically changes the way we operate, and that could, of course, be
Yeah.
severely uncomfortable, but not to the extreme that the folks in Ukraine are dealing with. So
Yeah, well, nothing compares to that. I
yeah,
mean, we will talk about other things, and we're looking at from a different perspective, but we come back to that all these things are just just
Yeah.
complementary to what's going on. I mean, the entire energy crisis as well, like, because Russia obviously supplies most of the natural gas to Europe. So now it's happening that in many places, they're not only they're considering more of alternative energy, but they're also turning back on some carbon, charcoal, or whatever it's called, coal energy plant, which is, they were shut down. I'm talking in Italy, they just restarted 2 or 3, ready to resupply what is missing. So
Yeah.
keep adding to the big mess that is literally going on right now. But again, I think, I don't know about you guys, but I'm trying to just get my head out of the news for a little bit, helping as much as I can. I mean, there is a ton of organization out there. They're doing a wonderful job in physically helping, bringing medicines, and helping with all the refugees crisis in Europe, and there are places very legit where you can actually donate some money that they're actually going to help physically someone. So if you can, let's do that, and let's support everybody that is really getting impacted by this. So this said, I think we kind of already started talking about tech news. That's what we do, and like I said,
We do.
I just need to unplug sometimes and listen to some music that is gonna, last night a DJ saved my life, where music just gets you in a different place, and I hope
Yeah.
that with our conversation we can bring people to a different place, even if for a little bit of time. I think it could be one of our contribution to what we do. So this said, I see burrito, and I see Sean salivating, and for people on the podcast, they can't see that.
you
Not
know,
true. I always make fun of him. I
I'm
think.
always salivating. That's the reality.
Always
Nah,
hungry.
when I can't even recall the last time I had a burrito. To be honest with you, it's probably
Yeah.
one of my favorite things
Since when you left California,
when I left
there
California.
you
Yeah.
go. All right. All right. I know
They
where
have
you're
burritos in the Northeast.
gonna.
I'll have to track one down.
So you're telling me that in New York they only serve Italian pizza and spaghetti
It's
and meatball?
it's pizza and bolognese, my
The
friend.
foldy pizza. Yeah. Man,
All
no
right.
pizza
Well,
folds like the New York
In truth,
pizza.
I've landed on some really good Thai.
there you
Thanks
go.
Okay.
to we have a good friend, Michael Parisi. We know that
Oh yeah.
introduced me to a place, and it's it's pretty cool.
Very
That's all
good.
that.
Well, New
Yeah,
York is the Big Apple. It's
yeah,
a multicultural city that you can
Take a
find
bite.
anything you want, right?
exactly.
So maybe
It's
you
all
just
there.
haven't looked hard enough for a
I
burrito,
haven't looked for a burrito, to be honest with you.
and that's why
Think that
Diana's
might be
bringing
the
you
case.
one right now.
Look at that
Whoa,
in a bowl. Do you
in
eat
a
the
In a
bowl,
bowl.
Diana?
You don't actually no.
bowl.
So this is believe it or not, this is a military robot that I'm going to discuss. It was developed by the military to make burrito bowls. It's actually
Wow.
it's a salad robot, and
Okay.
it can measure out. So instead of you saying I want this, this, and this to some person who then scoops it out, or if you're at a salad bar, for example, and it says, well, one serving of chickpeas is 28 grams. And you're like, is a scoop 28 grams or 30 grams? Who knows, right? You just kind of like guesstimate your chickpeas, then you go weigh your salad at the end. And it's always, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I get like the salad, I take it up, then I'm like, how did I get a 5-pound salad? Lettuce isn't that heavy. But this robot will
They're
not
rocks.
just scoop out the things that you want, but it calibrates the exact serving. So if you say I want 1 scoop of chickpeas, great, you get 28 grams. If you want 2, it's going to give you another 28, so that you can know exactly the balance of nutrition that's in your salad. And also, some human being doesn't have to stand there doing this very sort of boring, repetitive task. Humans would still have to fill the trays that the robot is taking the salad and the chickpeas and the bacon bits from. But the robot is now able to serve these out for people and to make delicious burrito bowls, possibly for you, Sean, and salads and other things like that. And thinking about not just could this help the military with having to allowing for staff don't have to be doing as much food service work, so they can be used elsewhere. I think it could also be used, obviously, in the food service industry, so that people could have maybe more interesting jobs. Although I know there's always that fear of like the robots are taking our jobs, but there's still plenty that would need to get done, in addition to just the scooping and putting it in the bowl. So that's
Nice.
my news.
I love it. As long as I can tell it, I want a 5-pound salad.
There you go. Oh, I forgot the best part. The robot's name is
Yeah.
Alfred.
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 Is there a reason?
Yeah.
I think about a character named Alfred.
Alfred E.
Epidays.
Newman. Oh,
I was thinking the Batman. Like
Oh, like the
his I think his
personal
sort of,
assistant,
his
butler,
assistant
whatever.
guy is Butler,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's like kind of
Yeah.
more than that. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think his name might be Alfred.
Okay. Well, it's a common name for somebody that can be, it's very, very British too. Oh,
That's
let me talk to Alfred. I saw something that they were experimenting into having a completely, and I think they're doing it somewhere where they're having an entire, they're trying to make pizza with the robot hands and arms and
Okay.
actually cook entire. Yeah, can you
Right.
imagine that?
Spinning the
We're doing the spinning pizza hands gesture, but also there was another one I saw, and you can tell I'm really Italian here. But it was the robot was trying to get spaghetti, and delicately without breaking it, put it in the boiling water and
Oh.
stuff. So it's an exercise in dexterity. So that's
Yeah.
great. And imagine if you can just load the recipes, all the recipes of the world inside
Right.
it's almost like the Matrix. Yeah, upload, how I can pilot an helicopter, and the chef's gonna, yeah, sure, just give me the ingredient. Now the other question is, who goes to get the ingredients at the store? That's
But
another robot.
it just
maybe
goes down to
another
the
robot.
commissary.
Yeah. There's the shopping robot and the
Yeah.
The serving robot. maybe.
Hmm. But I can see that, of course, some big application like military, big company where they're cooking for so many people. Would it ever take the chef job? Uh, how about that creative aspect of things? Because I always go there with robotics and artificial intelligence, the creativity.
Yeah, I'm not sure the chef, even a more complex chefing job could be pretty hard. Um, because if you've got just bowls of pre-cut or prepared food in front of you, trays, and it's just scoops it, it knows I need 28 grams of each one or whatever, I need 30 grams of this. It's pretty repetitive. Whereas if you're a chef, there is a lot of creativity of, I'm going to and maybe even, like different cooking methods. Somebody wants this or that added to it. So I think, and creating a recipe is very, I know that there's the generative AI that you can say, I want a cookie recipe and it'll give you a cookie recipe. But, and they're having other things with AI, like trying to do food pairings and wine pairings. But I think there's still a lot of space for the creative human chef and for more difficult or complex cooking and baking. But I think for the really repetitive stuff, like, I mean, think about fast food or a salad bar. It's just, you got 20 things in front of you and people want X number of those 20 things in the right size in a bowl or in a burrito.
Mhm.
But I don't think we're gonna. I think our great chefs like Anthony Bourdain, R.I.P. That creativity, I don't think a robot has yet.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
yelling in the grave right now.
there's probably
Oh,
some
he'd be
middle.
so angry.
There's probably some middle ground. I mean, because you're saying, how do you want chickpeas or not? How much chickpeas do you want? What's the portion of that you'd like in there? I can see where maybe you want the chickpeas on the side, or some people like it mixed in, or some people like their cheese on the top before the dressing, so the cheese kind of absorbs some of the dressing. I don't know. Do you like it more acidic, or do you like it more oily, your dressing? And I can see where you you can instruct the robot. So the human's still the creative element, driving the robot to create something for you, that versus what somebody just did manually in the back room, where they all look the same and they come out in the same black thing with three slices of cucumber and
Yeah.
placed in the same exact spot, and not enough dressing for my liking. And
Ever.
yeah, never. Yeah, I like a little
Yeah.
salad with my dressing.
You know what
People
I'm
always
thinking? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say people are wild in terms of what they ask for. One of my first jobs out of high school, while I was in college, was I served the popcorn in a movie theater, and people would have these really complex popcorn orders. Believe it or you just think they just scoop it in, but no. Like some people would want like just put a layer in, and then I want 3 pumps of the butter, and then 1 sprinkle of salt, and then another layer, 1 pump of butter, and 4 sprinkles. They were really
That's
crazy
perfect for a
specific.
robot.
Yeah.
It's perfect for a
Controlling
robot. Yeah.
much?
I'd like 22.5% popcorn on the bottom.
All right. So I'll tell you a story before I moved back in the U.S. and I had a lot of friends from the U.S. coming to visit in Florence. And you know how you go to a restaurant here and you say, "I'm gonna get this on the menu, but can you remove these? Can you add that?" And nobody cares. They're like, "Sure, okay."
Yeah.
Now you go ask that to a chef in Italy, and you see what happened. They're gonna be like, "Hell no! This is my recipes. If you want to eat this, this is what you're gonna eat." So there was always this thing about, it's kind of like adding salt where you taste something. Like you have to trust the chef. That's very that's very important. Now I understand doing things like popcorn on your own way, but to go tell a chef what to do is probably not the right thing to do. But one thing that I was thinking is you could use adversarial artificial intelligence to create some recipes. The reason why I'm saying this is because I had 2 podcasts with with a company called Art AI that they do artificial intelligence created art, and they're selling it. There are NFTs right now, and I'm gonna shout to Ben Kovales. He's one of the founder of this, and we had this conversation about one is the critic, and one is the painter. So I'm thinking the same thing with the chef. There is the chef, and there is the critic, and together they found this formula to elaborate this recipe. The only problem is going to be that in this case you also need the dexterity to prepare the food.
Right.
That adds a really big layer
Yeah.
of complexity.
Yeah, I can't help, and I don't know how many times I bring this up, but the article I wrote years and years ago where I referenced the future as one where everything is digital and we hearken back and we'll pay a premium for what we have today or even in the past before today, because everything is not real. and everything looks the same, sounds the same, smells the same, because it's been perfected to some algorithm that was created somewhere that says, this is what you should like. I'm going to create it. That's what you get. So almost like Marco's chef. I've created this. This is what you get. Take it, and deal with it. And I don't know. I have this weird dystopian view that we're going to end up in a place where everything is the same, and it's going to be really, really boring.
Like all the food,
So,
even though we seem to, aren't we going? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the norm will be there are certain things, most things will be the same, and the exception to that rule will be stuff that people create through means like grinding the wheat or the beans or whatever themselves. I don't know, I'm just making something up here, but I see a time where what do we talked about pills, right? You get your dinner and a pill.
Yeah.
How creative can you get with that?
Soylent.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because once you start looking at all the aspects, and in one case you can get the perfectly packaged but fresh thing because it's made, the plate is made as perfect. Now the real chef is not going to make it perfect all the time, so that's why you can expect even always to taste the same. Maybe sometimes it's the tomato that tastes different. Sometimes it's the salmon that is more intense. Sometimes they don't have that olive oil, they use another one. So there is that variety. But if you do get it in a pill, that's a different story. I mean, let's say that you go to a restaurant that they serve you two plates. One is made by an artificial intelligence / robot, and one is from a chef, and you may end up liking the one making from the artificial intelligence. It's still fresh food. Now the pill is a different story.
The consistency, that is interesting, because as soon as when you were saying that, Sean, I was thinking, but when I was a kid, we used to think that Chinese food was lo mein and pink spare ribs, and like now we understand that there's a vast cuisine out there that like doesn't, pink spare ribs don't represent. So I was thinking there are so many different like options now. We understand about so many cuisines. But as Marco was speaking, I was thinking about Ed's ex was a food flavor scientist. And according to her, that one of the largest hamburger sellers globally, the reason that hamburger, to your point, Marco, about like, does the tomato taste different? Does the beef taste different? This purveyor, their hamburgers taste pretty consistent no matter where you get them anywhere. And it's because they're allegedly, the largest purchaser of natural seasoning hamburger flavor. So they have their own flavor that they put in to make all the hamburgers taste alike. Because as you're talking, and then I think about
if
how
it's
much
the same one, I think they actually process the meat and bleach it and bring it down to just a substance, right? so
it'll taste
effectively has no taste, and then they add the flavor they want.
That's how the flavor scientists need to do it, right? They need to like get a nice clean flavor. Yeah. So, but thinking about that, and then I think, yeah, you're onto something, Sean. people just want the same thing. 'Cause that's
Yeah, and to mix it up, the other extreme is AI doesn't create anything the same, and everything is different, and
ooh.
you get the one off, and then when what what do you choose? And is it you get it once and you can never repeat it again?
Well, then
Oh, what
again,
a bummer. Yeah.
Right?
here's the thing: we go back to technology. Who decided that, right? I mean,
I did.
you're still in control, and I like that. So you can say, look, there is a random element into this, like art. You can do something perfect, but it may not be pretty, and somebody may like it, somebody may not. I think cooking is kind of the same thing. Of course, I'll mix horrible flavors, but when you experiment and you do the salty and savory and sweet and the honey with the acidity or that kind of stuff, I'll be interested to see what an artificial intelligence can come up with.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to taste
The
everything.
AI restaurant.
I'll let Sean taste it.
Come into a corner near you.
Yeah,
Portion buffet.
I think I like that. You just say, "Look, I'm allergic to whatever," or "I want something." You give it parameters, and then you just kind of push the "I feel lucky" button, and it just
You
puts
put
the
the
stuff
feedback.
together. Yeah,
You have to put the feedback. It's like, no, AI, this is not good. But then who decided what is good? I mean, there are certain things that I wouldn't eat, and somebody else thinks is relevancy. So cultural differences, and I think that's why artificial intelligence or algorithm are so complicated, because there is not just one. There's not
yeah,
just one thing that's the way you do it. Like ethics in artificial intelligence. I'm reading a lot of books about this, and
yeah,
it's just like it's so philosophical. It's not a
yeah.
technological problem. It's
Yes,
philosophical,
yeah.
and again, it's technology is human, and that's why we're talking about burritables.
Right. Yeah. Robot burrito balls.
Mhm. One more note on that, because I mean we've talked about the creative element of it, and then the effort behind it, but I can also see a benefit from a hygiene perspective. Um, Maybe you don't want
Yeah.
humans' hands, even if they're wearing gloves, standing over it with the hairnet that they're not wearing, that they should be. Oops, I just sneezed, and making your salad. You can avoid a lot of those types of things, and then perhaps even cross contamination, where somebody can't eat meat, or needs to stay clear of the peanuts, right? And
Yeah.
therefore the peanut sauce and the salad dressing, whatever it is. So I think there's a lot of just well, I'll encapsulate it as a hygiene point, but a lot of things to consider there too.
I agree. I mean, the sneeze guard doesn't really help when somebody's like going, "Oh, I don't like the look of this tomato," and then plops it back into the tray off of their bowl. Yeah.
So if a robot sneezes, does it sneeze oil
Bits. He says bits.
or yeah?
Electric sheep. No, that's what it dreams.
Oh, that's a good sneeze. Some electric waves. Now I'm thinking sci-fi cartoons, like the old cartoons, and the Jetson that I always like to bring up. All right, Sean, cloud cutter. What kind of cloud are you?
Cloud
You're
cutter.
gonna cut?
What are you gonna cut?
Cloud cutter.
What are you gonna do? Who are you gonna call?
What kind of do you think it's a real cloud or a digital cloud cutting?
Well, for what we talk about all the time,
Real.
we're thinking digital cloud, but I think you're going real. I agree with
Yeah.
Donna.
All
Real,
right,
real.
you guessed correctly. So
Ooh,
this is technology out of the UK.
of course,
And
I got clouds all the time. Sorry, guys.
exactly.
Could have been out of
And
Seattle.
Oh yeah.
could have been, yeah. So what do you think is under the cloud? Well,
Above
I gave it
or
away. I gave it away. Under the clouds. Not above. What do you think is under the clouds, gentlemen? Today.
People,
Well, are you creating?
plants, plants.
You're creating a Sunday out of a cloudy one? Do you open for the sun to come through?
Oh, we just spent 30 minutes talking about it. Food.
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 There you go.
More food.
Ooh, it brought it back to
So
the pool.
I brought it back to the food. I'm sticking with the food.
Okay,
So evidently,
okay.
huge swaths of land managed by farmers. They use aerial views of the land to kind of monitor crops, which is great until the clouds roll in, which is often.
Mm,
And so they have a hard time seeing, are things growing? Are they sprouting? Are they finishing? Are they ready for harvest? Are they infested? all kinds of interesting things. Unless they go and obviously traverse all parts of the land to figure it out. So they prefer a nice big view of the land to see what's going on. Can't do that through the clouds. So this crew, can't remember who it was, but they're using two satellites, a Sentinel-1 and a Sentinel-2, two spacecrafts, both out of the EU. And Sentinel-2 looks at the ground through optical wavelengths.
okay.
So it kind of looks at through like our eyes do with light. And the Sentinel-1 uses radar to kind of map out the ground using microwave, evidently. And so that's what pierces the ground. I guess the two of those together produce an interesting image that is super cool, super detailed, super complex to read and interpret. So they've layered those with some AI, of course. So here's the artificial intelligence to kind of paint that picture in a way that a farmer can actually look at it. So it's pink
Nice.
fields and brown fields and green fields and white fields and black fields and all this thing. A nice map network of all the fields, square and round, rectangular, triangle, whatever. And in there, they can not just see, did a wheat field turn to the right color of gold, let's say. They can actually look at the detail of the structure of the wheat and how rough it is, which is a sign of whether it's ready to harvest or not. So they can actually look at this area and see this part of the field, not just the right color, but it has the other attributes in the right way that it's prime and ready to harvest through the clouds, cutting through the clouds to do that. So that's my technology. Presumably, obviously, it would help to harvest things at the right time, not too early, not too late, and do so even through cloud cover when there are many days where that is likely the case. So there we go. More
Is
food.
is this in use now, and is it expensive for the farmers, or?
So it is. It seems to be a pilot program, and they talk about working with a few partners to make it work. But yeah, not in production. They don't talk about the cost that I can see either. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like such a cool technology. I think that's why my brain went there. Was I was thinking the only sort of downside I could think of is if it wasn't available
yeah,
to everybody, if it was like cost prohibitive. So only a couple big corporations could have it, but local farmers couldn't or something.
yeah. So my sense is that this is going to be offered as a service,
Mm,
right? So there will be an entity, probably commercial. I don't know if the government's going to get involved or not, but some entity will. Currently, they're talking about the UK, but and they're also European Union satellites, so they're talking about more of them in more places, even around the world, to cover other parts. But yeah, who launches them, maintains them, produces the data, will likely offer it to
yeah,
Jill the farmer that producing organic asparagus somewhere. Marco's
there you
shaking his
go.
head no.
No,
No
I'm
organic
not.
asparagus.
Yeah.
Oh, I love asparagus.
Okay.
No, what I'm thinking is that it's an incredible resource, an incredible data value there, and of course, as you said, the small farmer is not going to be able to afford it, but there was a news a very short time ago where a famous company that makes tractor and an agricultural machine, they're going completely autonomous. And if you integrate that technology into the way that they do a lot of the work themselves, and then other autonomous tools to harvest and cultivation and all of that, then you have control over, like make decision from above the
Right.
clouds, bring it to the clouds, but then it become a pay per service type of thing, and nobody really own it, and you just outsource it from them into your system, and then you bundle it into whatever the hell you're having. And I think that's going to be the future for a lot of things. I mean, we're consuming music that way, where we don't own
Yeah.
anything. So
Yeah, the autonomous tractor doesn't care if it only works 2 hours on Tuesday, right?
right.
It's not going to demand an 8-hour shift just to get out of bed and go cut some wheat,
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so there's this swath. It's going to take an hour. Go for it, machine, and cut that.
Yeah.
They also,
Wake up at 3 a.m. You don't even
yeah,
need to see anything. You can see
yeah,
That's
at
right. It just
night.
does it. Yeah.
Who gives a shit if it's cold
yeah.
or hot or whatever? And I connected also to the one about the pothole that you brought the other day, Diana, where you from space now you can see if there is
Yeah.
a pothole on the ground. And I'm thinking, well, the next thing that's going to give a message to a drone that is going to go and repair the pothole by itself. I mean,
Maybe.
can we go there?
Yeah.
Well, in an ideal world, like not only you detect, but you act.
I love automation, so I'm all for that kind of thing.
I mean, but imagine if this is the future, and I believe it is. Uh, it's inevitable. I mean, all these data are going to be used for something, and I don't think we're going to go back to go and fix it with a shovel. So the big question again is, who is going to lose the job, or where are we going to replace the job for these people?
Or is it going to be augmented? Because that's, I think, where a lot of this goes is augmentation. If you trust what the analytics is seeing from the telemetry in the cloud to then send out something into the fields to harvest it, and then take that back, and on the road it sees a pothole, call some other robot. There's a whole lot of trust here without any human being intervening, and that level of trust means that you have to not, I'm not saying, oh, the robots are bad, they're going to take us over, but you have to trust that the robots are going to perform properly, like that they actually harvest the asparagus that's ready, not the asparagus that isn't. They fill a pothole in the right spot, rather than just making a big lump next to the pothole. So you need to have a lot of assurance that these robots are gonna. But if you look at robots assisting human beings, this stuff can go much faster and with a lower level of trust. Like, if the human goes out with the robot and just makes sure, yep, you're getting the right asparagus, but then the robot does all the hard harvesting work, that's a huge benefit. And the with filling potholes, right? The tamping that is it's very hard labor on humans. But once they set everything up and say, okay, now let the robot do the hard work. So I think that that's going to be more of our future, our immediate future, than having robots sort of off living completely autonomously. I could be wrong, but I think that's
I
more
love
about
it. I'm
helping.
going to throw a wrinkle into all of this, pulling
A wrinkle in time.
a wrinkle in time, going
Madeline
back in
Walter.
time to one of our previous conversations. I don't remember which one it was, but where we talked about distributed, local, regional farming,
Yeah.
right? Where we're growing it on the rooftop or on the side of a wall in pods, or
In my closet. I got
in the
spinach in my
closet,
closet.
or in the basement, or wherever. I mean, because the technology is allowing this to happen. So do we need huge farms and the ability to get this view? And the reason I mention that is one of the other points that the article makes is it can use this data to kind of predict the future, not just for which time is best to harvest, but kind of a view of this is the state of the wheat industry,
Yeah. Well,
which
Well,
is
yeah.
good, right? Of course, then there are markets that play that, which I won't get into that part of it. But anyway, so would we lose that visibility if the farms are in the closet, or in a little
Well,
smaller regional thing?
you have easier visibility. You just
Maybe
open the
we
closet.
have to might have to change my name to Closet Cutter. For the clouds are cutting through closets.
so
Well,
interestingly, our closet spinach company has an app, and they ask you to sort of report back on how, like, when you harvest, and if you were able to cut and grow again, or if you had to harvest the whole thing, or if it failed with the growth. And I think that they're trying to use this data to create better advice and support for so that more people can grow closet spinach in the future.
Nice. I love it.
Closet
I don't know.
spinach for all.
My brain is going all over the places right now because the application for all of this is incredible. Remember, I have to say we had 38 episodes, so we talk about a lot of stuff. That's why often we go back and
And
say,
food.
"Hey, do you remember when? Remember when we talked about this and that?" So one time we talked about detection of fires. And I believe it was either in a podcast or one of these, in one of the first one, where you can detect fire from space, and then what if you can act immediately? I think it's Sean, you brought it because you were surrounded by fire at the time.
By fires.
And so I'm thinking, like, okay, what? Not only you can alert the fire department, they can go there and knock it off, but you can also alert the freaking drone that is going to take off with a big load of water or fire retardant or whatever it is. And just on the spot, wherever it happens, you go, it goes there, it put it off and flies back in, and everybody's fine. So think about that, and think about a lot of other application when things storm around and can get stuff done. But when are we gonna really pass the ball to robots and we really trust them? And that's the big thing. And what do we trust them for? Right? So do we trust them to make artificial intelligence decision for hiring people? No, let's not do that. Putting somebody in a jail? No, let's not do that. Making a salad? Okay, I can go with that. Fixing a pothole? I can go with that. Turning off a fire or deciding about the harvesting? I can go with that. And I can also go with, I'm going to change my news. So it's nothing to do with Wallet Gardens. That was about Netscape. I'm sticking with this because it's cool. So the other day, I get a picture and from Caro, and she was working at UCLA filming, and she's like, look at these little things, and they're like little delivery robots that go around campus, and they're pretty much at level 4 autonomy right now. And I know that they are in. Do you remember the story when I filmed one at night a few years ago that it got stuck and the human helped them, and then the robot said thank you, and because he was literally about to cross Fountain Avenue, which is like, oh my God, I gotta wait to see this happen. But he never went because traffic was really heavy. So in a campus environment, it's quite different because there are no car, there are sidewalk, like think about it inside a hospital. So where you're not really dealing with all of that. And I was like, oh my God, you got to order something. And it's the cafe at UCLA that is using this. It's a company, many companies are doing this. This one in particular provide different campus. And from what I understand, they are level 4 automation, which is human intervene only if something goes bad. And that's pretty cool. So we're there. I don't think our society for certain things is ready for it, but there are certain control environment where you can use it.
So go ahead, Diana.
No, you go, Sean.
No, you go. No,
You go.
you hang up. No, you hang up.
I was going to say, I think that the controlled environment is the key point there, and it shouldn't be discounted too much, because campus environments actually have been great training grounds for autonomous vehicles. They tend to have when there is a car there, it's going very slowly. It's very well mapped out. You can control things in a way that you can't in a public road. So I think in something like a campus, you're right, but so controlled environment matters, and the question is, when we're going to start sending this out outside of the campus, what do we have to be able to do? And I think it's a lot more than we realize to get to level 4 outside. But yeah,
Yeah, I think it's no surprise that some big conglomerate corporations work on campuses. So they can use them as test beds. Now, the thing that I was going to say is very much related to where you went, Diana, in terms of control, because Marco said the human only gets involved when there's a problem. So there's a start and a finish, or perhaps a start that's end to end, or perhaps a circular start and a finish where it gets something, goes out, comes back, gets something, goes out, comes back. Either that's start and finish or cycles.
yeah.
The question is there any human there has to be human interaction at one of the two ends, or the one end if it circles back, but I presume the two ends. I don't know.
Oh.
Is it, I'm just wondering, is it picking up from a quote unquote locker and delivering it to another locker so it knows how to open the door and take something out and traverse and then put it in? I don't know if you know, obviously you're not reading a news
What
article here,
these things?
yeah, or is there a human filling this
No,
device with stuff?
in this case, they're just a delivery. So you pretty much
Yeah.
you're at the cafe, you prepare your thing, you put it in the robot, you open it, you put it in, it has the destination, and it's gonna go find the person that is waiting on a
I see.
bench or whatever. It's GPS, so
Okay,
it arrives there. I'm imagine this in my head, but it recognize, maybe scans your phone, or it knows that it comes the order from you. It unlock, you take it, thank you very much, and it goes back away. So it's pretty focused. It's pretty tunnel AI, if you want to call it a way. But the amazing thing is that it does it, and this, there was an example of how they can use this for transportation of medicines, to go in an area where it's dangerous for a human be there. I mean, you
Yeah.
can make a build to resist fire. You can make it to go so small to go in a cave and save someone. And rescue missions on mountains where they're already using drones after an avalanche that can scan and go to places where humans or not even dogs can. Right. So let's just think of all the value that they can bring in specific circumstances. On top of that, they're so cute. I mean,
They are
I
cute.
want to be delivered by one of those things. I
They
want
are
one.
cute. I had one at a hotel, Sean, and the little delivery robot at the hotel was definitely human on both ends. It was you called down to the front desk and we need extra towels. They put extra towels in the robot. The robot comes to your door and you open the door on the robot body and you're like, thank you.
Did you tip it?
I have to admit, I patted it on the head.
Oh, that's super
I was
cute.
like, thank
She
you.
tipped it over.
No,
So
I did not.
Let's imagine that. How do you tip? Do you give it? I don't know. Maybe you give a little bit of charge from your phone.
There you go. Like that dog.
5% charge, so it can go longer. I mean, what is it that robot going to appreciate?
Does a robot want? I mean, maybe they just want what everybody else wants, a little
See,
appreciation for their hard work.
I'm already talking about them as I talk about my dogs. It's like
It's hard not to. It was hard not to pat it on the head.
Oh, that's
the top. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Sean, have you ever interacted with a robot?
Just you, my friend, just you.
I am a robot.
That's why you like
sad,
AI so
sad to
much.
say I've not had
Yeah,
a robot delivery experience
I have an
that I'm
agenda.
aware of anyway.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went to Japan. There was that one that has that big bad head. Pepper. I think his name is Pepper. Pepper the robot.
Oh
It's kind of like
yeah.
concierge. It doesn't really do much, at least not back then, but you can ask things. I don't know if I didn't really interact. It was just cute to see it there.
An Alexa on wheels. basically.
Oh, let's not talk about that. Just not enough time to talk about that one. But I don't think we can stop. I mean, if I have to sum it up, I don't think we can stop this thing. And we just need to accept it, and we just need to make it right with the ethical decision as we go into it, and not as an afterthought. So
I mean, that's what risk management is about. It's not about stopping advancements because there could be risks and security issues associated. It's about understanding them so that as you move forward, you can either mitigate or accept them. Right? Because you're right. I mean, we're moving to the future. I think it's just a matter of doing it with our eyes open and understanding the risks rather
Yeah.
than, because some people think it's kind of magic and they're like, can't a robot just do all that for me?
sure, like the robot.
Do my taxes.
Yes, like the robot just rained down from the sky. Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
All
All right. Well,
So we went back to the sky. So
we went back to the sky.
Let's cut through. Let's cut through this. I know Diana has to run, so we'll say goodbye, Diana. Thanks everybody for joining this week. We will be back again next week. Yep. Warm wishes to everybody. Keep safe. And
I hope we'll start with some really good news. I'm crossing my finger. Next week we will just have some big relevant changes in a good way of how things are going, and there'll be a guest as well next week. So stay tuned, stay safe.
Yep.
And
the opposite of disgust would be delight. Hopefully that we get there. So
exactly. Yep.
All right. Take
Through
us
the
out, Marco.
TechVine.
See everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Blue Lava is the first business platform for CISOs to manage their security program. Blue Lava guides security leaders to effectively measure, optimize, and communicate their security program with confidence and ease in one platform. Learn more at bluelava.net. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Through the TechVine podcast. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share itspmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.